Welcome in. Paramay Trades here. Paramay's Trade Journal. We're going to take a look at the CoT Report, Commercial Interest, Friday Roundup edition. We're doing something a little different this week. Instead of coupling all of the markets and the commodities into one video, we're going to break down the markets into segments, into different videos. So now we're on the second part here, and we're just going to look at energies. That being said, this should be a little bit quicker than the last video. We spent a little bit more time than we wanted to on the currencies, but because expect to break these down a little bit more and do individual. I think we'll probably do Mexican peso this week as our lower time frame currencies. See if we can find ourselves a proper side of trade. But for now, we're gonna look at energies. Much shorter list, should be a little bit quicker. So we've got our indexes updated here, and so we're just looking at, well, NQ is not an energy. This is our indices. Not sure why the color didn't change, but we'll figure that out in a minute. So we're only really looking at two of the energies. So we're looking at natural gas and we're looking at crude. I don't look at, what was the RBO? That's one that I don't look at, but maybe we'll put that on the chart at some point if you like playing that. I think it's natural gas in Europe or something like that, or gas in Europe. But all right, let's just let's get to it. Let's look at gas. Gas had an interesting week, actually, to tell you the truth. Well, yeah, a little bit of action to some price action to the upside, but we didn't see a strong showing from commercial interest. Then this has been a really funny chart. So winter did not look good for the Northeast. So natural gas really just wasn't appealing. So comms has still held a bullish outlook for an extended period of time. And I got to think they got burned on it a little bit. So we'll just drill down into natural gas and take a look. But this doesn't look like the season. There was a report that came out that weather would be a little bit colder this time in April. So let's even pull up natural gas. We're looking at the library before, and natural gas. Where are we at? So we saw some nice movement by natural gas last week. I'm gonna clear this drawing set out. So, really confusing chart for the most part. 3-year index back here looked really good to hold in that long position. We're back here in August, so weather's looking like it's turning winter time. A little bit more interest, aggressive buying on the 3-year index, and we had some price action on the upside. So we were following this back then. Same thing with commercial interest on the 3-year index as well here, and we saw some price action to the upside as well. But then, commercial interest still holding a very positive outlook for many months, and it just never materialized. The cold weather never materialized. So we did get a little bit of movement down here last week, just on the report that April would be a little bit colder than it usually is. So you really got to watch what's going on. And from a seasonal aspect, from a seasonal chart, I mean, natural gas just doesn't look good this time of year, right? Especially with the way the economies are looking these days. So we have got this value range to work with for the most part. We can call this our higher value range up here. Not a good time to be a buyer at the top of this, but definitely probably a more interesting look and better opportunity. Just about double, looks like a double bottom working for us here. But com's not holding a very positive outlook. Market sentiment really, really low. It just wasn't good for from February to April. So this chart, it's a little bit picky. You even drill down into the longer or to the shorter time frames. We won't do that right now because I want to keep this nice and short, but we got a nice little double bottom action going on the daily, and we got a nice little bounce. So we're back up into this this value area. So the time to be a buyer up, towards this higher value range of trading? The answer is probably no. But 3-year index, not totally bottoming out. It's still over the 50% range, but one would think that commercial interest got burned pretty bad back here because the weather just never materialized. It just never happened. And this was just an absolute, gutting off the top, nearly $3. I think $3, right? We'll call 3 points. Nearly 3 point all the way down to 1.5. So when's this thing going to turn around? I don't think it's a season for it to turn around. Do we have a seasonal chart? I think we do have a seasonal chart. Let's take a look. Oh boy, I hate it when it does that. Let's go back here. Natural gas seasonal, right? Let's pull this in. It just doesn't look like the season. It doesn't look like a very impressive chart to trade. If you want to be into a long position. A short position was definitely beginning of the season was definitely a good time to be short was back here in January. Just looking at the average, but the average just pick up a little bit into the season, but it just doesn't. Yeah, I think if you want to play natural gas, you got to look at the lower time frames, and we got a little bit lucky here with the seasonal effectiveness, if you will. People might be interested in gas because April for a couple of weeks might be a little colder than it was supposed to be. But retracing a little bit, so far as commercial interest is concerned, it just doesn't look like a stellar chart like it did back here, given this time of the season and given the weather. So am I playing natural gas? I stopped playing natural gas after we got our shorts in. So can I hang out in this range and trade sideways for a little bit? Yeah, sure. So I'll watch the fundamentals. If we're watching commercial interest, we're looking for a cue from them. I don't think we're going to get it until later in the season. Turning summertime, probably not a lot of great deal of interest. There was some news about China. Possibly the seasonal effect of being a little bit colder in the middle of April, and then some import business or export business with China going on with natural gas. So something to watch. Look at look at your fundamentals and see if you can be hip to something. But yeah, not a chart I want to play. Not a chart I'm playing right now. The double bottom looked good, but I wasn't paying attention to this chart. So I apologize about that. It just wasn't, it just wasn't there. Oh, there we go. I could turn my microphone down. Sorry about that. So natural gas, I'm not watching it. You can play it, and I'm probably not going to do a video on the lower time frame. So if you want to, come check us out in Discord and say, hey, will you do the natural gas chart? I think there was just a nice sideways. We'll just look at it just for the heck of it. It was a nice sideways chart for the most part on natural gas down in this area before it broke. We were looking at this value range, and we just we weren't paying attention to the chart. Being a buyer down here, yeah, quite possibly. And here's that near double bottom pivot look, not swinging lower and finding some support. Maybe in this value range, and maybe if you're watching the chart and you find a 50% value, maybe find support up in here, and maybe you're a buyer down here and you got lucky. But it didn't look stellar. It didn't look like a great chart to play. Even a break of the downtrend channel just didn't. It didn't look horribly appealing. A good commodity to play if you're playing it, and this is a really low value at 1.5. So Maybe you got lucky in this turn when you were a buyer in the lower end of the value range. You're definitely not a buyer up here, that's for sure. So really quick hike, nice spike top, and we're going to retrace a bit how far down it's going to come. So right about that 50% area. We really got to tool into some fundamentals and see what's going on in the energy sector. Let's just bring it up real quick because we've got some time in this video. Let's look at the the market overview. I'm pulling this up in just a second here, and look at energies. Well, there it is. Natural gas tumbles after the EIA report came out. Inventories rise more than expected. So that's been the case for months with natural gas. It's just not being consumed. It's not being used. It just wasn't the right season for it. Wasn't the right weather. It rallied a little bit. Let's see. Natural gas demand is weak. It flip flops so darn much. I just stopped playing the natural gas charts because there's way better charts to play. You make some good money on it. You get lucky. You can make some decent cash here, but I would look for another range to trade in. I don't know if you want to jump on the short sell here, or maybe it's not a chart I'm playing. Not a chart I'm going to look at this week. So I'm just not going to watch it. But crude had a nice jump this week. A nice jump was a jump last week. Had a nice jump. Jumped up to about $27 a barrel. WTI did, and then it retraced a little bit. But another thing where you got to watch the fundamentals. It looked like it was bottoming, but I'm not extremely optimistic. But there's the news on it. And so everybody, Trump came out and he was talking to OPEC leaders or whatever it was last week. Like traders were hip to it. Everybody's buying. Price action looked pretty good for a couple of days, and we broke a downtrend channel. But then it just didn't materialize in the way that I think that people were hoping. So a lot of advisors coming out and saying, crude is bottomed. Crude. We were not optimistic. We put a video out a couple of days ago. We were just not optimistic about crude. If you want to call it a bottom, yeah. I mean, 20 is not a bad place to take a long position, I don't think. But it just didn't. We didn't see this going much higher. It was a nice little bounce. But calm's not at extremes. So we hear sometimes that, hey, commercials aren't going to show you their ace card, right? They're not going to show you, the public their ace card. But we pointed this out. They did, on multiple occasions, show us their ace card. When they broke bearish down here, they were way the hell ahead of the trade. So if you're lining yourself up here when comms were getting bearish or holding a negative outlook on the 6-month index, you align yourself quite nicely. Was this thing at a moonshot? I don't think so. It was a nice bounce. Something like $10 a barrel or something like that. But we're down in the 23 range. So we get some sideways action, and even so, this latest week, comms still not holding a positive outlook and creeping down into that negative territory. So I don't know what's going to happen with crude in the next. I got some coyotes outside. And we did see this amazing spike in open interest, but shorts closing out. I don't know. Oversold territory. I mean, this just spiked and retraced. So you have to watch the lower time frames, and we'll do another video on crude. Watch fundamentals. See what's going on in the market. It's awful responsive to when the political leaders start to get together, then we start to get some movement. And that's not what I'm looking for. So we got just a quick second, and we'll just take a look at this. So we jumped out of this jumped out. A really strong candle in this downtrend, which just absolutely jumped out of this zero coefficient. Came up. We got this amazing spike to the upside, and it looked like it wanted to break out, and looks like traders got involved in this. They noticed good value down here, and we had some additional price action to the upside of 29, but then this thing just peeled right off. This thing just peeled right down, right up against this this resistance that we found from the previous large trading range, that we recognized that there was some bearish activity still going on up in this area. So that's that. I mean, maybe we get some sideways trading action, and maybe crude has bottomed, but it's going to have to show us, because this was a very short-lived uptrend. We did break out. We're going to come down and retest that 125 or that negative 25 coefficient and zero coefficient down here, and get some more sideways trading. I don't know. Is the market bottom in for crude? We'll do another video on it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it today because we just want to really focus on CoT for you guys. So that's that. That's that for the energy sector today. Crude just not looking, comms not looking, and extreme territories. They were back here, and if we were aligned with them when they got bearish, they made a fortune. You made a fortune on this play when they got into extreme territories. They're not holding a very positive outlook right now. So if we're using this as a leading indicator, are we saying that we're at extremes and this is where we want to be aligned? It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good, and they weren't holding a positive outlook. So I don't know, are they accumulating down here too? I don't think it's going to go lower than 20. If you think the market bottoms in, sitting at 23, I'm inclined to say no. But can we get some kind of uptrend? We're going to need to see a nice pivot to work out of here. And then we broke this low value, very short low value range. This looked like a couple of days. Not very impressive. So I don't know what kind of shenanigans are going on in crude, but a lot of whipping going on in here. So yeah, maybe it bottoms, and maybe we just trade inside this total range here between 28 and 20, and make an opportunity to be a buyer down here, sub 20. I might definitely think about taking that. Okay, that's a wrap on the energies. I'm sorry, we only have 2 energies to look at, but that's that's what we got. So not interested probably in playing, at least from a long-term perspective, of crude, but definitely got to pay attention to the low value range of crude, and possibly just looking for some high and low value ranges to play if you're playing the scalp plays on crude energy. Okay, or crude oil. All right, that's that. Thanks for tuning in. Paramay Trades. We've got a Discord channel if you want to pop in. It's listed in the description. Hope you find yourself on the profitable side of the trade, and we'll see you again on the next video.